Hi, everybody. Lisa Winston, and welcome back to another day of Life Mastery Beyond 40, where we bust through that myth that age equals decline. It is not so. I just turned 57 yesterday. I found love at 55. I started my conscious business at 52. I know a lot of people that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s that are just rocking it, because we're here to live life now. So let's do it, right? So, gee, look who's on the screen with me today. One of my favorite people of all times, Katie Hendricks. I want to thank you so much for being with me again today.
My pleasure.
You are the absolute epitome of what we're talking about. I was just telling Katie that, you know, I never knew what to do about a relationship because I was never in a good one. So I've really been using she and Gay's books as
Yeah.
really my relationship Bible, really, to get through it. So I want to thank you for that. You're saving my relationship, really.
Oh, well, it's really our passion to share with people what we've discovered that in our own journey and also working with thousands of couples, what really does work.
Yeah, thank goodness for that. Especially when you get older, you think, "Oh, I know it all." Well, guess I don't know. I know nothing, literally.
Well,
You
you
know.
get better at realizing that the more you learn, really, the more you know that you don't know. And
Amen.
that's one of the great pleasures of life, I think, is opening to what's the next discovery, what's the next thing that we can learn, because that really makes life juicy.
I love that, and that's why I have you here today. And I want to thank you again so much because, you bring so much, not just wisdom and inspiration, but really practical stuff, that we
Yeah,
can do to really be able to do it. That's the thing. We can read books and be inspired all day, but if we don't know what to do, then it's not a whole lot of help. So,
yeah,
right? Right.
absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to read. You changed your bio, and I love it.
I
And I'm going to
did.
do my best to say it correctly.
To enunciate,
Yes, you can
right?
help me if I mess it up. But anyway, everybody, Kathleen. She's and Gay. They're just amazing. And so this is what she's up to now. This is what I love you and reinvent yourselves like every year, right? I love that. Kathleen Hendricks, Katie, PhD, BC, DMT, is an evolutionary catalyst and let me see if I get this right, contextual disruptor. I love that. She has been a pioneer in the field of body intelligence and conscious loving for over 40 years. Katie has an international reputation as a seminar leader, training professionals from many fields in the core skills of conscious living, authenticity, responsibility, and appreciation. She is the co-author of 12 books, including the best-selling Conscious Loving, which is a great book. I have been recommending it to everybody. At the Speed of Life and the New Conscious Loving Ever After, How to Create Thriving Relationship at Midlife and Beyond. Geesh, okay. That kind of fits in with the theme, right?
Kinda.
Kind of. Katie has been a successful entrepreneur for over 40 years. She has developed a unique coaching and leadership program that has trained hundreds of coaches in the US and Europe. She co-founded the Spiritual Cinema Circle, I love that, and the Virtual Body Intelligence Summit, which will move into its third year in 2016. She has appeared on over 500 radio and television programs and traveled well over 1 million air miles as the ambassador for the work that she and her husband Gay Hendricks have developed. Katie earned a PhD in transpersonal psychology and has been a board certified dance movement therapist. I've really got to get into that because I know it makes a big difference in your life. Of the American Dance Therapy Association since 1975. I always love your work. I always love to see how you're going to reinvent yourself. I have not gotten
Thank
into
you.
dance. My daughter is now into dance, and I know it makes a huge difference for a lot of people.
Yes, it makes a huge difference in your aliveness, your contact with yourself, your contact with others.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have to get into that. Definitely moving your body is really important. And look at you. I mean, you're just beautiful. You're
Oh, thank you.
ageless.
Well, that's one of the themes of our book, really, is that you can, especially at midlife and beyond, there's a choice that you get to make really on a daily basis, which is, am I going to continue expanding, growing, being open to discovery, or am I going to fold up? And we literally do notice that people, if they don't actively choose to continue expanding and creating, putting a focus on creativity, they literally start to fold up, which is how we think of older people, is that they're kind of more, they're smaller and they take up less space and they're more fragile. And that's totally unnecessary. That does not need to happen.
Wow, I love that. I've never heard anybody put it like that. It's a conscious choice because, my parents were from the generation that, you get older, you retire, you slow down, everybody starts
Right.
taking 10 medications and then you have a walker and I just said, I don't want to do that. I saw my father 4 years ago be just mercilessly tortured in the hospital before he died. And I made a
Yes.
choice because that almost killed me watching that I was not going to go out that way. Not if I could help it.
Right.
And I guess at that moment I made a conscious choice to
Yes.
expand, which I didn't even know. So,
Yeah, so often those kinds of experiences when our parents, we're in the generation now where we're kind of at the prow of the ship now because our parents,
yeah.
many of us, our parents have already left, and seeing how our parents or other people that we know have chosen either consciously or unconsciously to live in these later years has really, I think, our generation is going to revolutionize what we have called aging,
Yeah.
and that we're not going to accept the the frontier that of that aging can be really has been going on for several hundred years because it's not very long ago that we didn't live to be over 40.
That's true.
And so that this whole frontier of we've had our children, we've raised our children, most people, you've created your businesses or your career, and there's a kind of maturity, what in the Eastern traditions they call your homesteading kind of um, phase of life, but then you move into what they call forest dwellers.
Hmm.
So you're really have a sense of freedom. There's a lot more freedom to be able to make the choices of what you're going to be doing day to day, what you're going to be putting your attention on. I mean, for many of us, certainly with all of the disruptions in our culture and our economy, that it's unique for everybody. And I think that the most important thing for people to know is that creativity is the major fuel for later life. That getting focused on what is it that's unique to me that I love to do, that when I'm doing it gives me more energy, that's what you put your major focus on. And then everything else fountains from that.
Hmm.
So everything else gets fed by that river of your own creativity. And that's the main thing that we focus on in the book, and also focus on that it's not that you're creating something, it's that you're creating, that you're in creating, and the deliciousness of that, which we describe in the book. Several different people describe what it's like for them when they are creating. And it's very different than if you're going through a routine of your day. If you're going through these are the things that I have to do because this is what society tells me to do. And it's been really, really exciting for both of us because we found I'm now 67, Gay 71, just turned 71, and we're healthier, more vital, more fit, more creative, having more fun than ever. And so I think really our generation is going to turn aging on its head.
I agree. I resonate so much. Every time you talk with me, I start to buzz because, you know, for me, the older I get, I just told you I turned 57 yesterday, and it was like,
Yeah,
um, so what? It's like the older I get, how like your grandparents when you were younger maybe had said, I'm 75, I'm 80, but why do I feel like I'm 15 inside? And I
right.
find that I feel more childlike the older I go along. We were talking about becoming more ageless as you do what you love. You literally get rid of that heavy, and your body reconstructs in some way. And and I love what you said because in my own conscious business that I'm building, which some days seems very heavy, it's a lot of work. We have to do the
Yeah,
work. I started doing that as well, just started painting every day and just doodling and doing things that I love and taking the time because otherwise I was finding my body was aching and but
yes.
the minute I started opening up, and even if I wasn't creating a masterpiece, I was just doing something or even taking a walk.
Yes,
I
that
felt
that
better.
you can bring creativity into all of your choices, which is
Yeah.
fully engaging, letting yourself be present in what you're doing. I wanted to just mention before we dive into any other questions that it occurs to me as I look around and as I participate in various summits that one of the really big things that we're dealing with, which is a context that's pretty invisible to most people, is a kind of time urgency.
Yes.
That
Yes.
people feel a victim of time, that
Yes.
I don't have enough time, there's all the I have to, I should. And for people who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and on, particularly late 40s, especially at 50 and on, your relationship to time really can change in a way that you are cultivating an inner space rather than being at the effect of the time wheel. And time, most people don't realize, is really an invention. we
Yes, isn't that funny?
we
Yeah.
invented it a few hundred years ago so that we could run the railroads.
Right.
But before then, we were really much more in touch with the time of the environment, of the seasons, of feeling our own internal timing, and recreating your connection with that. I think is so important. And one of the ways that people can touch into that throughout the day is using their breath
Mm.
as a way to expand into a sense of spaciousness inside. Because when you get into time urgency, I guarantee you that your breath stops. And it often stops up and forward, like, I'm
Yep.
like I'm at the gate, I'm ready
Yeah.
to race. I'm the racehorse is there. I'm like, and
Yeah.
when you take a few, like three
Mhm.
connected breaths, that brings you back into that sense of spaciousness where you're not in that gerbil wheel that
Oh
most
boy.
people feel that they're in all day.
Yes. That is beautiful. Thank you for that because it's about being in the present moment. And I find myself too, we're always shoulding and I have to. And our wording too helps if we say, I get to do this because I love to do it,
Or
right?
I'm choosing.
I'm
This is what I'm
choosing.
choosing
That's
to.
perfect.
This is what I want to do. And I think also especially for women, no, I don't want to do this. I'm choosing not to
Oh.
do this. And choosing not
Yes.
to do this without a whole explanation or I'm sorry or.
Oh, I love that is so I notice so many people right now. A lot of people doing that I'm talking with, they're doing 3 or 4 summits at a time. And I just say,
Yeah.
listen to your inner voice. I mean, if you're overwhelmed, don't do it. It's okay. Timing, everything happens in perfect timing. And we try to control all that. So we're afraid we're going to miss the boat or something if we don't do it all. So yeah,
Yeah, that's that fear of missing out,
yeah, yeah.
FOMO.
Hey, it's the universe's deal, right?
Oh,
Universe's summit.
we
It's
have all of this information now. We have all of
yes,
this, the online information. There's
I
just
know.
things going on all the time. And so I think that's why it's so important for people to keep coming back home to what is it that I most love to do, but also what is my unique contribution
Oh,
in the world?
yes.
Whether that is the way that you're able to love and appreciate your family, the way that you're able to communicate and to contribute in your community. If you love to read, you could go and read to children at the
I
library.
love that.
The combination of creating, but then also contributing,
Yes.
is really essential to people so that you're not just you're taking in, because if you're taking in and you're not expressing
Yes.
your creativity, they would be like just breathing in.
And that's exactly that really resonated with me though. I love talking to you because I have all these epiphany moments. That's so true. We have to have balance, the yin yang, the in, the out. I love that.
Yes,
That's so profound. Thank you.
and the balance is dynamic. The balance changes every day, and the balance, when I keep coming back to making sure that I'm giving loving attention to myself and making sure that I'm expressing creativity in some way as a priority. And then it's really amazing. Everything else I seem to have time for everything else.
Isn't it amazing?
One of the things that Gay said many years ago, which I have always loved, he said, there's never enough time to do what you don't want to do.
Oh, I like that. I
I
like
really
that.
love that.
Yeah. Oh, this is awesome. Do you see smoke coming out of my ears,
Yes,
just
yes.
when you have, it's so funny. I love talking to you because I love the way you put things. We all have our perspectives, and then when you hear somebody else say it in a certain way, it really just snaps
Yeah,
and
kind of opens up
clicks.
to more
Yes.
facets. And yeah,
Yes.
that way we can all, I think we're all going to the same place, but we come in through different doorways.
I agree. I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have so many questions. As
Please.
usual, the last time it was like I could do 3 hours with you, but I just know that you have other things going on, so you don't have time for that. So, what I love about you is, again, you're the epitome of anybody at any age doing whatever they want, being vital and ageless. And I love that about you. And I love that you're going to touch on some points that we haven't. We've touched on wellness and health and, a lot of other things. But what I want to ask you, this is kind of this I want to know this too.
All
One of
right.
your yeah, one of your chapter titles in Conscious Loving Ever After is Integrity is Sexy. Now, there are a
Yes.
lot of different perceptions about the word sexy, obviously, but integrity and sexy, meh, it's not really usually a match. So, can you please explain
Yeah,
that
you
to
would
us?
think, wait a minute, those two words don't go together. Yes.
Exactly.
So we've been in the study of integrity, what actually is integrity. And one of the definitions of integrity that I really love is that integrity is an unbroken wholeness with nothing wanting. So integrity actually is the experience of yourself as a whole, not fragmented, not compartmentalized, but whole. And integrity is actually the skills that allow you to experience your wholeness and allow you to recover your wholeness if that wholeness gets fragmented. And we have some very specific skills that we've practiced for many, many years and taught to people, which are doable. They're not airy. They're not, just something that you think about. They're actually practices. So, for example, one of the practices about agreements that we were just mentioning before is to be able to select agreements that you actually want to make.
Mm.
So making agreements that you want to make rather than what I used to do. I used to have an oh sure problem. Someone would ask me something and I would just find coming out of my mouth, oh sure. And then I go, oh, wait a minute. Let me check. And opening up to your body wisdom, really giving attention to the amazing knowing that your body has, which is also something that we teach in our workshops, how to know if you want to say yes or no. And so when you practice these different integrity skills that have to do with agreements, with responsibility, with emotional transparency, and with how you communicate, what we call resonant listening and authentic speaking. And they sound very complex, but they're actually very simple skills. Like, can you communicate what you are experiencing? Can you communicate that in a way that matches what you're actually experiencing?
Mm.
So that's an integrity skill. And the result of those is a sense of vibrance and aliveness and an alignment. The core of that is that you're aligned in yourself rather than being at cross purposes. So if, for example, I want to say something to you, but then I hold back because I'm afraid I'll hurt your feelings, or all of those kind of push pull things.
Stories, yes.
We don't just do that in our heads, that we've experienced that in our bodies, and that jangle uh, keeps you from really enjoying the uprising of aliveness, which is really our birthright, to experience aliveness flowing through us. And there's actually, I don't think, anything sexier, more attractive, more engaging than somebody who's completely present. So they're not, looking at you and then looking over your shoulder to see if
Right.
there's somebody more interesting to talk to. They're not looking at you, but then also thinking about, does she like me or not like me?
Yeah.
They're completely available for contact, both inside and with you. And I think that is something that we can continue cultivating throughout life. Now, I was just had Helen Mirren's picture come into my life. She just turned 70. And part of her ongoing appeal, her vitality, and her undeniable sexiness is that she's aligned.
Yes.
She
She's
speaks
amazing.
authentically.
Yeah.
You know that she's not concealing herself. She's completely available. You can see and
You
feel
feel it.
that energy
Yeah.
moving. So that
Yeah.
is the result of her practice of integrity over many, many years. So people, as they get older, can actually, I think, get even sexier, more dynamic, and even though we have wrinkles and we have sags and those of us who haven't done any work
Yeah.
on ourselves, even that, I think that it interferes with the flow of energy. I can see it when somebody has had work done. Their energy can't actually flow through anymore, and it's so sad to me. So I love that, like Helen Mirren and other people who are in the public sphere who are letting see, this is who I am. This is what this age looks like. This is how I'm expressing myself, and you can see their aliveness and their life experience. And to me, I think that's a gift that we give to those who are coming behind us.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that because we all have different ideas of what integrity and sexy are, and you're completely changing it around, and it feels so authentic, and it feels so good and genuine. And you're right. I mean, God bless them. Anybody wants to do work, they may. And I've even looked in the mirror some days and I went, but they lose their
Yes.
they lose their essence, don't you
Yes.
think?
Yeah. And really, I think that integrity, the practice of integrity, allows your essence, who you really are, to
Yes.
shine through, and that other people can receive it. And one of the big things that most people don't realize is that humans require attention lifelong. We require attention just as we require food and water. And that if you're letting yourself be in integrity, you're available for giving and receiving that attention, that nutrient, that essential nutrient that we all need throughout life. And it makes you available. Rather than being closed off and I'm not sure they're going to like me and I'm scared that people, that I look funny, or so the letting yourself have your experience of authenticity, your experience of who you are, be shared, and letting life in and letting other people see how life has shaped you is a tremendous gift. But it's a gift to you too. As you do that, other people receive you. Uh, and I think that for us, we become then mentors as we move around in life, rather than ooh, I don't want to be like that. I'm just going to
Right.
pretend that I'm never going to age, that that nothing is
Well, that
ever
ain't
going
gonna
to
happen.
change. That then we become. Um, allows us to keep giving gifts. And I think people really need to do that throughout life. They really are enriched by being able to give to others, being able to contribute. And when we take that away from people, I think that is one of the main places where people then just fold up and go away because they don't feel that they have any usefulness anymore. They can't contribute.
That's exactly it, isn't it? Yeah, and I love that because I guess most people probably contract because of fear. There's so much fear around aging and death and all that other stuff. But in reality, when you contract like that, you're dead before you leave the planet. You
Yeah.
have no life. So your words are very light. They're nourishing. I feel the essence of that life-giving truth. So
Wonderful, wonderful. And that central choice of am I going to expand always comes with what's the next thing to learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's a tremendous source of vitality, is learning something new and interrupting habitual patterns.
Yeah.
So not having dinner at 6 every night, not walking the dog at the same time, not just having, bridge on Thursday. My parents' lives were, they had routines, and I think those routines then contribute to you folding up. So as you're learning something new and as you're interrupting routines, that's a great source of ongoing vitality.
I love that. I told you, I feel like I'm a kid. The older I get, the less I know. So
And
there's a lot
it's wonderful to really be able to acknowledge that rather than to think, oh, I'm older now, I should know everything.
Well, you do become more wise, as you connect, you get that wisdom from the universe. But yeah, I mean, every day I look around and there's so much that I don't know. And so we should have plenty to keep us busy.
Yes, I
You
mean,
know.
there's every day there are more things that you don't know.
Amen to that, and it's all a good thing. I love that. Oh my goodness. Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, I even noticed in my own relationship, I told you, and we're practicing conscious loving in our relationship, in my new relationship, and uh, but sometimes I get into that when I get triggered, I get into that blame game or the criticism, and I hear the talk, I hear the self-talk, and I see the results that it produces,
Yes.
and I'm really aware of it. But so can you, and it really does, this is the question, it prevents intimacy,
It
really?
does. It does.
So can you talk a little bit more into that, what we can do about that and how we
Sure.
can change that around?
Yeah, and I want to let people know that we have a chapter in Conscious Loving Ever After about how to create no blame relationships.
Mm.
So we have a whole chapter on it. And at the heart of it is recognizing that blame and criticism are an addiction.
Mm.
And an addiction isn't something you can talk yourself out of. You can feel bad about it. You can shame yourself. You can, beat up on yourself. None of those really work because it's an addiction. And what you get when you blame and criticize is a burst of adrenaline,
Mm.
that that
That's right.
which we use as fuel rather than our creativity. So most people go for, it's like going for the Hershey bar.
Right.
You go for blame and criticism because you are going to get that momentary feeling of being right, but it's extremely costly because adrenaline peaks and then it drops off, and it really does cost you in so many different ways in your body. We could go into that in detail, but we do in the book. But just to know that you basically are emptying your fuel reservoir the more that you blame and criticize. And what we found was that making a commitment to end blaming and criticizing was the most important first step. We didn't know how we were going to be able to do that, but we realized that it was such a barrier to feeling connected, to feeling really intimate and in support of each other. Because when you blame and criticize, all of a sudden the other person looks like the enemy.
They do. And it's
And
instantaneous. Yeah.
it's instantaneous, and they're not your ally. They're not on your team anymore. They're not for you. They become the problem. And we forget that I'm the one, you're the one who's making that, who has the glasses on.
Yeah.
I'm seeing you as my enemy through blame and criticism, and I can remove that filter. I can have a new filter. We recommend that you first make the commitment and then you let yourself practice when you notice that you're about to criticize, or usually you're probably going to catch yourself in the middle of criticizing. That goes on. That went on for us actually for a couple of years. We would catch ourselves in the middle, and then we would recommit. So that's step 2. So rather than beating yourself up, when you realize that you've blamed, you go ahead and say, oh, I realize I was just blaming.
Yeah.
I recommit to living free of blame and criticizing. And then you can make a shift into either curiosity or appreciation.
Mm.
Those are incredibly powerful.
Mm.
So in the moment, and I've done this hundreds of times myself, in the moment of criticizing, if I take a breath and I actually look around and go, what can I appreciate right now? Whether it's I appreciate that the sun is shining. I appreciate that I'm alive today. I'm appreciating that I have this moment with you to make a shift. Appreciating changes your whole physiology. It then opens you to growing rather than protecting. Because when you're criticizing, you're actually trying to protect yourself.
Right.
And that's the best that we know how to do in that moment. But when you open to appreciating or getting curious, when you create a I wonder how I could see you as my ally right now.
That's beautiful.
I wonder how we could resolve this. It's the that shifts you into wonder, from your critical brain to your wonder brain. Those moments, which I tell you, you're going to need to do hundreds of times. This is not a one-time.
Doggone it.
I was just at a conference where some Buddhists were giving us, some of their wisdom, and they really talk about when you've made a recommitment for 1,000 times, you're beginning to get into the game. After you've done it 100,000 times, so it really becomes then a practice, not something that I'm trying to achieve.
Right.
I'm not. What you will notice right away, though, is that you get back into contact. You feel the intimacy again. You feel yourself softening. You feel, oh, there you are. I recognize you again. And then you begin to get confidence. Oh, okay. I realize that the world hasn't come to an end. I simply got caught in criticizing. And we put such an emphasis on this because it is the number one relationship killer. People leave relationships more because they are just sick and tired of being blamed and criticized. Now, we also do that with ourselves.
I know.
So you may not be an outer, just like belly buttons. You may not be an outie, an innie, that you criticize yourself. So I also recommend that it's just as important to stop that blaming and criticizing with yourself as it is with other people, because that's really where your relationship with others begins. It begins with loving and appreciating you and committing to being your own ally, rather than, pushing. And, that's what I grew up with, is that, people criticized because they thought it worked.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm telling you this for your own good.
Right.
And,
I know, ouch.
Yeah, you'd feel that. I would feel that cringe coming, that, and any moment that I can then make that shift grows that muscle. It grows my ability to love and appreciate myself. And that's what really works. Criticizing and blaming doesn't work. And so we tell people, you need to stop it. You need to stop it. You not to just do it less, commit to stopping it. And then you can commit and recommit and move into curiosity and appreciation. And there are other things that will support you that are in the book. But that's really the gist of it.
And I love that, because it really is a choice again. And I've had, experience now feeling if I want to stay there, I can create that, and it's not going to feel good. Or I can come over here and remember that I love this person and they're not my enemy. I want the best for them. And I grew up with that too. So I have a lot of that self-criticism going on in my head, but it's a whole new way of thinking and doing. And it's a whole new, when you said you recommit, that literally stops.
That's right. Pattern. You just simply get back on the path.
Right.
That whole loop where we think that we need to understand it. We think we need to kind of do penance about it. We need to figure out where it came from and really whose fault it was. All of that is, it's just truly a waste of time. It keeps you from actually experiencing the intimacy that you can get instantly by making the shift.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that is a huge one. I'm practicing just to let you know every day. And I know
we're all practicing.
Yeah.
That's such a great thing that you said, Lisa, that the practice, these are practices. We have this myth that we're supposed to arrive somewhere. And when you have practices that you really love, that you enjoy, you want to do them every day. And the difference between a habit, like brushing your teeth, and a practice is that you're choosing it and putting your present in it,
Yeah.
and you're learning from it. And so the practice of appreciation, the practice of creativity, the practice of integrity, they grow this kind of flexibility and openness that I think, and the evidence is coming in that it actually changes you at a cellular level.
I believe it.
And you can keep just youthing yourself throughout life.
I love that. It's an evolution. And again,
Yes.
life mastery. I have so many clients that say, well, this is really hard. And I'm like, well, it took you a while to get to this point, and you can't just wish it away. You have to work on it.
Yeah.
It's just the way
Yeah.
it is.
I actually like to now have people say, rather than working on it, I like to
Well,
have them practice.
yeah, that's
So,
perfect.
because working on it has that whole,
Feels heavy. Yeah,
no, it's hard,
right,
it's not fun.
right.
That practices can actually be fun.
Yes,
You
it
can
can.
enjoy them. You can have a good time while you're getting more intimate, with yourself and with those you love.
And thank you for that. I love those, we all have to switch those words around. It's a habit.
Absolutely. They have great power.
Yeah, they do. Oh my goodness. I have so many questions. Okay. Well, let's see what we can get through here. All right. Another big one for people for really 40 and beyond, but I was going to say 50, 60 beyond. Most people think that romance, really great sex, um, regeneration, it either slows down or stops. I don't know why
Yeah.
people think
Yeah.
that, but that's kind of been an ongoing thing. And I know that you disagree with that.
Yes,
So
I
can you
do.
talk about, we're busting through myths today. So let's bust through a couple of myths around that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, one of the myths is that your sexual energy sort of dries up,
Right.
and that it's just kind of over, and you sit and knit, or you, you know,
Boring. Yeah.
boring, or you get you sit in your barca lounger, you
Oh
know,
my God.
and watch television together,
Yeah.
and what I've noticed and what we've seen in our relationship and with people that we've worked with is that when you're authentic, when I'm authentic, that that juiciness is so palpable, and it allows you to let your partner in more and more, to let yourself be truly touched, to deeply touched energetically, not just physically, but energetically and in cosmically, and really at your soul. And that level of meeting, that deep intimacy is, uh, I found, just continues growing. The kind of being able to play fully, being able to um, be free of fear in your contacting each other. We have a whole chapter on how to move from fear to flow. And when you've done that, then all of your interactions really become palpably sexy, whether you're actually making love or not. My experience now is that I'm always making love with Gay. I stand next to him and I actually feel this streaming of energy running up my body, which I didn't feel 20 years ago. The ongoing, it's like being, in Star Wars, the first Star Wars, where they came to the engine and there was the core where there was this humming.
Yes. Yes.
That's what it can be like, is that you feel more and more the actual juiciness of, sex is really really about our creating and recreating ourselves over and over again. It's the way that we contact each other, the way we look at each other, the way we speak to each other. There are all of these different ways that we express our sexiness, and the spontaneity grows. Your sense of being undefended, that you're able to, in a very deep way, say yes, to be open more and more for playing together. So it's really playing and laughing. people always know where we are, where Gay and I are, because that's where all the laughter is coming from. We have so much fun together. And, back in the day, we didn't. We were, working on stuff and, thinking that relationship had to be hard work. And now, if something comes up, we really and truly just play through it. We don't work on stuff anymore. And all of that contributes to sex being just better, really better than ever. And we have other folks who are in the practice say that also. So it's not just us. And this is really good news for people who are
It's good news.
Accumulating years.
Yeah. And I love that too, because we always get, especially as you age, like for me, finding a new relationship at 55, right? My body's different than it used to be. So there are issues about that. Or we focus on the act itself, but it has nothing to do with that. Everything changes. And so
everything changes. And if you're creating, here's some of the things that we've noticed that happen. Your skin feels juicier and warm, and the essence comes through your skin. That you're present out to the edges of you. So when people are scared, they contract. And you can feel that when you touch them, they're not quite there. But as you're practicing presencing, which we have a chapter on in the book also, you get out to your edges. And so when someone comes close to you, they can feel that deep resonance. And that can continue. You have this whole body experience rather than just a genital experience.
Right.
It's really your whole body is dancing with another person. And what could be better than that?
That's so beautiful. I love that. Thank you. Yeah. It's a whole new game. It really is. And
it
you were talking
a whole new game that continues.
Yeah. And you were talking about creative flow, and that's also part of where that comes from. If you're opening up your creative juices, then that's,
because they all come out of the same faucet. So your creativity, your sexuality, all of your feelings. So as you're open to your feelings and sharing feelings deeply with each other, that contributes to your having a wonderful, sexy time together, because you're just completely transparent. You're open to each other. And then life becomes discovery.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. That's beautiful. This stuff is really important, and not a lot of people talk about it. It's confusing, I think, for a lot of people.
Well, that's why we wrote the book.
I know, and that's why I use your book. Books. Got several.
Yes, we have several.
Yeah. And they're actually living
particularly
books.
Want people to know about, those of us who are at midlife and beyond. We've condensed everything that we've learned about conscious loving in the last 25 years and put it in this new book, Conscious Loving Ever After. And I wanted to let people know that I made 5 videos with a couple who have been together for about 10 years and know our work, who are in their mid to late, she's in her mid 40s, he's in his 50s. So how to actually do these practices. And these videos are on our website. So if people go to hendricks.com and they go to the relationship page, at the bottom of the page, you'll see a paragraph about our new book and a link to the videos, which are free. And they will take you to the page where you can see, oh, here's how I practice this. Oh, here's how I let go of the past. Oh, here's how I can open to letting go of fear. Here's how I can presence deeply with my partner so we can experience this juiciness. So I definitely wanted people to know about that.
Oh, thank you. We're going to actually have that link. It's at the bottom of the video. So they can just go to the bottom of the video and click on that beautiful gift, because, we can, like I said, we can talk about it all day long, but we need actionable steps. So that is beautiful. I love that. Thank you. Okay, let's see. What do we want to talk about next? All right. You and Gay say that talking about things isn't enough to solve problems or renew romance in long-time relationships. Now, I haven't had a long-term, but what's your experience? Because you guys have been together for how many years now?
We're now moving into our 37th year together.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, we're very, very exciting.
That's beautiful.
And also something I never would have imagined. No, really. The things that we describe in our books are things that we practice.
Yes.
So we know that they work. because they work for two of the most stubborn, opinionated people on the planet. And we know if we can do it, you can do it.
Well,
So,
that's good to know because I'm one of those. I mean, like bang my head against the wall, stubborn.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so here's one of the things that we that has really been so important that we've learned is that the art of relationship is really about your what we call full spectrum presence.
Hmm.
It's being in touch with your feelings. It's being in touch with your breath, your body sensations, being able to notice your partner, being able to give and receive attention. And none of that has anything to do with your words. But we think that that relationship is about talking about things. And I think that that's one of the reasons that people don't do relationship exploration is because they think, oh God, we've already talked about this so much, I can't stand it anymore. And what we find is that, any issue that you're experiencing is not resolved by your talking about it. It's resolved by your being with it in a different way. It's really resolved by your getting present, getting willing to resolve the issue. It's often really resolved by dropping the words out. We ask people to, if you're in a with each other, to literally drop the words out and let yourself make sounds and gestures at each other, and actually even put music on and let yourself dance wildly or move. And what you'll find is that you shift out of it right away. The other thing is that words, we all know how to trigger our partners. We know exactly the thing to say that's going to get them. And that's just the same thing as criticizing. It has that same impact where the person, you'll cringe and you'll start defending yourself. And then you'll get into a na-na-na with each other. It's your fault. No, it's your fault. Na-na-na-na-na. Or it'll get into the ha move of blaming. So we really, in all of our work, we really emphasize have something that you do every day that allows you to drop under the words and be together, whether that's taking a walk together, whether that's sitting and breathing together, whether that's listening to some music that you both love together, cooking, whether that's cooking together if you both like to cook.
Right, exactly.
uh,
Yeah,
caveat
otherwise.
there. And what you're really wanting to do is build enjoyment with each other. Relationships are meant to be not just partnering to create a life together, they're really partnering to create enjoyment, fun together, things that you love to do together. So when you do, in the book, we have a chapter that we find is really essential for people that we call the 10 minutes, only 10 minutes, 10-minute stuff talk and 10-minute heart talk. So these are the important talks and we help you structure them so that you can move through the business of life. One of the big mistakes that people make is they mix those things up. Your heart talk, how can we continue being close and deepening our closeness? We confuse that with the plumbing, and picking up the kids and all the stuff of life, which is always there, always continuing. So we separate those out. And one of the big things we learned that made a huge difference is that we create business meetings. When we have things to handle that are about the business of our business or the business of our lives, we put them in our business meeting. And we found we can handle all of those in 10 minutes. And then we get the who's going to do what when, and we get really clear about that. And then that business meeting, excuse me, that business meeting is over. And we can have our heart talk when there's something that we want to share with each other, something that's come up for either of us, whether it's been at work or in interaction with somebody else or something that, just there was a little niggle, we want to handle that. We handle that in the heart talk. And so we have a regular time, and we recommend that people have a regular time where they know they're going to be able to talk to each other, but in a structured way that really makes a difference. It's not just telling the story. So we find those are incredibly valuable for people, and also let people know, especially I find this for men, if they know, okay, we're going to get it all handled in 10 minutes, and
Yeah.
we've both decided we're going to do it, on Thursday night, or we're going to do it on Wednesday over lunch, or, whenever that is, we've got it scheduled. There's something that's very reassuring that people experience.
Again, I love your tips because I have to say, my partner and I have talked about some things like that, but we're not in the habit of structuring things like that. So it feels very
Exactly.
foreign right now. And I think we've, maybe avoided it to a certain degree because it's uncomfortable or we really don't know what to do. So we
Right.
don't
It
have a
can be
structure.
open-ended. You don't
Yeah,
quite know what you're doing.
right.
And so what we found, and we've had people practice this, the 10-minute heart talk and the 10-minute stuff talk are because then when we first started to think about this, it was because one of our clients said that he knew his relationship was over because he'd been away on a business trip, and he came, and he came home, his wife opened the door and said, "Oh, thank God you're home. The upstairs toilet is broken again." So we don't want to come into, like, every interaction is about, what's wrong. So these really allow you. So all of my interactions with Gay are about something we want to share with each other, something that was really funny that happened, something we're discovering, something that we want to create together, something that we're enjoying or appreciating. And all of those add to the richness of your life together.
Yes, I love that. That's a practice. And, especially later
It's-
in life because his kids are grown, my daughter's grown, and
yeah,
now it is
our
a
kids, our
time.
grandkids are grown.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, because now we don't have that because children brings a whole nother, aspect in. So really we have a lot more freedom. Um,
Exactly. You
so
have a lot more freedom, and how are you going to choose
right.
to use that freedom? How are you going to feel that? And what we really recommend is with your own creativity and with your co-creativity, and then that ripples out into the community. It ripples out, to people that you don't realize how many lives you touch when you're living in love and appreciation. People notice. It makes a difference. It contributes to people, whether you know it or not.
Right.
You're rippling that out into the world, and then everybody benefits.
Yes, I love that. Oh my gosh. We only have time for a few more, but I
Yeah,
want to really
actually,
hit
I
on.
have time for one
Oh, you
more.
have one time for one
Yeah.
more? Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, do you want to, I'm going to give you a choice because
Okay.
you have a preference, I'm sure. We can either talk about loss or we can talk about seeking relationships. Which would you like to
Well,
do?
I think what I've heard from people is that ours is the only book where people have heard anybody talk about death and loss.
Okay.
We have a whole chapter on death and loss, and and letting yourself. The big thing for people to know is that as you are open to your feelings, and you let yourself ride them, it's like you don't have to get rid of them. You don't have to package them. When you let yourself feel what you're feeling and you share what you're feeling, we call it riding the wave,
Mm.
because those feelings will come up in waves. And everybody, when you experience loss, you grieve. And if you let yourself grieve, what that will do is open more creativity. It opens up more inner space. It opens up more of your feeling deeply alive, deeply committed to the immediacy of being present. And it opens up so much more intimacy between you and not just your romantic partner, but anybody with whom you really share your feelings. It allows people to feel more connected to you. Their loss is going on all the time, and it starts accelerating when you get more years. And so letting yourself, like, for some, I don't know why, but I was deeply affected by David Bowie's passing. I don't,
A lot of
I
people,
just
yeah.
felt, and a lot of people were. And so whenever those waves would come up, I would just share them. I'd share them with Gay, I would share them with whoever I was with, and I would let myself feel them. So I didn't stop the sadness. And what I experienced out of that was such a deepening of appreciation of his creativity. What an example of somebody living
Oh my
fully in his creativity
goodness.
to the last moment.
Yes.
No, to me that I mean, to me that's the stellar model of no, he knew he was dying. Imam knew he was dying. And he chose creativity. And so, that's what I would like to leave people with as a model for how we can each be alive to the last moment.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I saw that last video he did, and it was very profound. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful. Not be afraid. Life is one big adventure into the next adventure. So,
Well, and you can be afraid, but you let
yes,
yourself turn the fear into flow
right.
so that it adds to your experience of being alive.
Thank you for touching on that. That's so beautiful. Okay, so I'm not going to ask for final words because you've given us so much stuff. We've already talked about your free gift. Everybody knows where to find you, the
Yeah.
Hendricks Institute site, and they know your name.
Yes, and the other place they can find us, if you're on Facebook, if you go to our, we have a Facebook page that's called Hearts in Harmony, or you can also get there to through relationship advice. But we have relationship tips every day. We have videos up there, so it's another way that you can keep getting supported in your practice.
And I want to tell the viewers, take advantage of it. It's working in my life and in my relationship. We've been together a year now, and without your books, I'm not, it would have been a really tough ride. I mean, we need help.
I'm so glad that, well, we all need support. We
Yeah, we
need
do.
support to continue being in the practice, and to get back up again, when we lose the commitment to
Yeah,
recommit. So
yeah,
I'm so glad it's
yeah.
been of use to you.
Oh, me too. Thank you. And thank your husband as well.
I
Anyway,
will.
thank you so much again. I had you on last year, and I know that I will ask you to be on some others because I just enjoy your essence and your wisdom. And you're just a beautiful, ageless being with so much to give and to offer. And thank you again for your contribution. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
my great pleasure. And thank you for what you're doing.
Oh,
Yay!
yay. Thank you. I get to do this. This is so much fun. This is creating it at its best,
Yes, it is. It is creating. And
Yeah.
again, happy birthday.
I love you. Thank you so much.
Mwah.
Everybody, thank you for joining us on the summit and keep tuned. We have 23 days of beautiful people like Katie, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next day of the Life Mastery Beyond 40 Summit. So thanks again. Thank you,
Mwah.
Katie. Bye,
Bye-bye now.
everybody.
Bye-bye,
Take
everybody.
care. Bye.
Bye.